It was a quiet autumn afternoon when Ava first saw him. She was sitting at her favorite cafe, the one with ivy creeping up the brick walls and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee filling the air. He was standing outside, his dark hair tousled by the wind, looking lost in thought. His eyes met hers for a brief moment, and for some reason, she couldn't look away. He smiled, and her heart skipped a beat. Her gaze drifted back to her notebook, where her pen still hovered above an unfinished page. She had a habit of writing letters to people she hadn't met. Letters that expressed feelings and thoughts she could never share aloud. Her fingers paused over the paper as she wondered what it would be like to write one to him. The next day, as fate would have it, he walked in, sat at the table next to hers, and ordered a cappuccino. Ava's pulse quickened. She could hear the sound of his voice, deep and smooth, as he spoke to the barista. He didn't notice her, and that made her oddly nervous. She tried to focus on her writing, but his presence seemed to fill the room, wrapping around her like a blanket. Over the next few weeks, they crossed paths more often. Every time she came to the cafe, he was there, sometimes reading a book, other times just staring out the window. She never worked up the courage to speak to him, and he never seemed to notice her, lost in his own world. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Ava sat by the window with her notebook. She was just about to leave when the door chimed, signaling someone entering. She looked up, expecting nothing more than another ordinary moment, but it wasn't just anyone. It was him. He approached her table with a hesitant smile. "Hi," he said, his voice soft but warm. "I've seen you here a few times, and I've always wanted to say hello. I'm Noah." Ava felt her heart race, but she managed to smile back. "Ava," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. Noah took a seat across from her, and for the first time, they talked. They talked about books, music, their favorite places in the city, and the dreams they'd both kept hidden away. As the conversation flowed, Ava realized how easy it was to be with him, how his presence made everything feel just a little more real. Weeks turned into months, and their connection deepened. The cafe became their place, a quiet corner where they could share their thoughts, laugh, and, sometimes, sit in silence, content in each other's company. One evening, as winter winds began to bite at the streets, Noah reached for her hand. "I've been meaning to ask you something," he said, his voice serious. "Have you ever written a letter to someone you've never met? Like, a letter to your future, or to a stranger who might change everything?" Ava laughed softly, her heart swelling at the thought of the letters she'd written over the years. "Actually, I have," she confessed. "I write letters to people who will never read them. It's like a way to say the things I'm too afraid to say." Noah smiled, a hint of vulnerability in his eyes. "I think that's beautiful." Ava paused, the weight of his words sinking in. It wasn't just the letters that had remained unspoken, there were feelings, too. And as she looked into Noah's eyes, she realized that perhaps the letter she had written to him long before they met had somehow brought them together. "Maybe one day," she whispered, "I'll give you a letter. One that says everything I feel, everything I haven't said yet." Noah leaned in, his lips brushing her forehead in a tender gesture. "I'll be waiting for it." And so, as the seasons changed, so did their love, gentle, steady, like the letters they never sent.